The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Meemaw and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta Holiday Market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 155 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom. Good ideas have no borders. Haggis.
I'm going to actually drop out of this episode because I think we've exceeded our bandwidth. I'm trying to record it through my Blackberry, so I got
Well, thank you, Tom. Second, writer, actor, and director Kyle. Why would anyone want a phone without a keyboard? Fine.
I mean, it's all about the click. That's the most important part. Click, 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 click. It's a screen on a phone, on a keyboard, on a screen. It's a new thing.
Third, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Gabriel, the Power of Basic Rowald.
Yes, I very much embody the power of basic.
Fourth, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Inc. Studios, Andrew. Screen, keyboard, phone. Screen, keyboard, phone. Screen, keyboard, phone. Zoom wall.
Bum 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 bum. Hope we don't get a copyright strike.
Well, if we do to that rendition, then they have a lot better AI than we know about.
Yikes. Tough crowd already.
All right. Let's poke the monkey. Find out what we're discussing this month.
Ladies and gentlemen, high-scoring heroes and portable protagonists, welcome to the main event. Tonight, two cutting-edge tech talkies fight for a market monopoly. Will Tetris clear out the competition, or will Blackberry click its way to a championship? In the first corner, from 2023, written by Noah Pink, directed by John S. Baer, starring Sophia Labadeva, Nikita Efremov, and Taron Edgerton. Tetris! In the second quarter, also from 2023, written by Jackie McNish and Sean Philcott, directed by Matt Johnson, starring Matt Johnson, Jake Baruchel, and Glenn Howerton. Blackberry.
I try to always watch the films, even though I am your moderator, your lead judge, whatever you want to call me, the host. I try to watch them. I'm not going to say anything about either movie right now. I'll wait till the end. Not that my vote counts, but yeah, I'll wait to tell you because I'm pretty unsure about one of these films, and I can't wait to find out what you guys think. So,
if your vote doesn't count, why do you get to talk? Isn't this like tyranny? Like taxation without representation or something like that?
Well, give me your taxes, and then we'll have that.
I kind of feel like that's what we're doing.
All right, let's start.
This is taxing.
This is taxing. Yes, it is very taxing. Thank you, Kyle.
You got it.
Let's start off with our first round, which is writing.
So we have two films that are exclusively based on things that happened in real life. They are not documentaries. They are one of those based on true stories. And there's a level of acceptance that we put into all movies that are at this point that have some Hollywoodness to them, because not everybody was always at the right spot. You weren't always in the room with, some non-key players that the story is about. So there's some speculation, there's extrapolation, and of course, there's just some fun stuff to add. So the story seems to move along a little bit better than maybe real life, because real life is, well, let's just say boring sometimes. And so that's what these two movies are about. The true story about how Tetris was born, birthed, and came over and became one of the biggest selling copy video games, and about the Blackberry and how it was created, and the rise of RIM, and how they actually brought the Blackberry into Crackberry status and the rise and fall. So I guess as a person that would write a movie like this, I would want to pull most of my ideas and my thoughts and areas of storytelling from as much as I possibly could to make it, as true to life as possible, with sprinkling in some fun here. So we're going to talk about the good and the bad here. The good is, for the most part, Tetris has a very strong pull from the actual story. There are some Hollywoodisms, as we've mentioned, such as like the car chase. The interpreter was written as this person that was kind of this sneaky double agent KGB thing. He actually knew that she was part of the KGB, and he had a lot of moments where he was very careful when he was actually around her and what he actually said. So it's interesting to see that they dug that deep and actually talked to him. They talked to Alexei, who is the actual coder who originally wrote Tetris. They've talked to him. Him and Hank actually made the Tetris company. He went to Russia. There was a huge feud over rights, and it was all because of the way Russia would allow this stuff to come out, where money would go. And they went into so much detail that they started adding like double agents. Okay, didn't really happen. Added a little bit to it. For the most part, the back and forth, the actual contracts, all of the rise and fall of some of the other game companies that were trying to get their hands on Tetris, all of that actually happened. And they really dug deep into Alexei and Hank's friendship and actually who they were as people, and just kind of the craziness that went on in this matter of time during what they call the video game Cold War during the Cold War, which I find absolutely hilarious. So it's really, really fascinating that they did so much work to get something as close as they could to actually the story. Now let's talk about Blackberry. So for the most part, their only true thing about the Blackberry story is the Blackberry. Many of the real life characters have said that when they watch the movie, they don't even recognize their own character or who they were in the movie. It is so outrageous and so off and not even close to who they were. And moments and the way that the actual company was and how it rose and fell didn't really happen the way that it was depicted in the movie. In fact, the very end of the movie, when they wrote in that they basically made Jim Balsillie take the fall for almost the entire company, that didn't happen. Jim Balsillie and actually Mike Lizardius both ended up having to pay fines and get in trouble for the whole thing. The characters themselves, like Mark Lizardius, and we can get into some of the actor picks later for this. He's from Istanbul. He's a little round little guy. So I guess kind of my point here with the good and bad is it's amazing how we've come to this amazing story of like the Blackberry, which everybody knows. Everyone knows them as crackberries, and they're familiar with them. And they skewed so far from what was actually happening and how that story actually became to make really just a Hollywood movie instead of actually telling the story. And that to me is very surprising, especially when you're trying to make a movie that is based on real life. So I was a little disappointed with the way that it was written, that it didn't actually follow more of real life. Now, with that said, they were entertaining to watch. The writing definitely did an A to B to C. We got to see the rise and fall actually through both movies really well. But yeah, I was just kind of bummed that the real life version of Blackberry was not depicted in this movie. So
I don't care.
No, that's okay.
I've gotten to the point, and these movies are very popular lately. I mean, there's a dozen of them out. I'm sure we'll talk about a bunch of them as we go on tonight. But I've gotten to the point where, yes, I will hop on Wikipedia or Google, historical accuracy, but I don't really care. It's always disappointing. Yeah, I would like to know what actually really happened, but if I actually did want to know what happened, I would, pick up a book, or I would actually read the history of it. It's kind of like the play, the musical Hamilton. Yes, this is not exactly how things happened and stuff. We're just using these historical markers to kind of tell a story in and around what actually happened. So, I wish it was a little bit more accurate, so I didn't have to go Google after I watched them. But I don't know. It's easier for me just to be more dismissive of the accuracy and just kind of enjoy the movie as it is. But like I said, yeah, it's
at the beginning of Hamilton, though. Did they come out and say based on a true story?
No, I think that's implied by the fact that he's the first Secretary of the Treasury.
Well, I'm pointing out that, like, I guess I don't mind if they want to write a story that doesn't, that is extrapolated as much as they possibly want. I guess I just have a hard time that they're telling a story that is based on real stuff that happened, and even the people that were involved, like the actual real life characters in a sense in this whole thing. We're like, this is not based on a true story anymore.
Yeah,
and that's I think that's where I was going with it. I was entertained, don't get me wrong, but
yeah, absolutely.
I just was disappointed that it was based on a true story but wasn't.
and I just, in going through these, I think it was Beanie Bubble was the one where I was just like, I just need to let that shit go, because these movies are not going to be very historically accurate. Of course, I mean, they're putting millions of dollars into this movie, and they're going to put every twist and turn they can. And is putting based on a true story at the beginning dubious? I mean, yes, and it's not really fair. I think it's misleading. But I mean, the fact you're doing a story about Beanie Babies, and you're doing a story about the Blackberry and history of Tetris. We understand that this is based on a true story because you're using something that I have in my house as the focal point of the movie. So clearly there's something true in this movie, that the fact that Beanie Babies once existed or Tetris existed. So I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I wish, especially when the story is interesting to begin with, why do you feel the need to push it further? But I can't argue, because I also found both movies entertaining, but that's because like I just let that historical stuff go.
Well, the telling of the authoritative history of something is really best left for documentarians and people with a vested interest in just getting the truth out there. I understand your point about the based on a true story, but that's been a thing in Hollywood for so long that, I mean, it carries no weight anymore when that's in front of something. I'm pretty sure some of those Annabelle movies or Paranormal Activity movies say like this is based on a true story, or how many Amityville horror movies are there? So yeah, these are also subjects I have no vested interest in. I never played Tetris. When I played it as a kid, I found it really frustrating. So I have terrible hand-eye coordination, so this is not a game for me. I never had a Blackberry or any personal digital assistant, so that one missed me too. So I was just sitting down to be entertained by the movies, which I think they are entertaining. I think if you're just talking about a narrative arc from start to finish and like satisfying storytelling, Blackberry stands out to me because you see this contrast between people who are just wanting to creative versus like the ruthlessness of business, and how entering into that world, kind of, if you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares back. So I'd see at the end of the movie, you see the person who had all these grand ideas becomes the master in the end of screwing people over. And I think that's compelling storytelling, and there's a lot of character growth and character change. With the exception of Ball Silly, which he starts an asshole and just becomes a louder asshole in the end, and then is sort of proud to get stabbed in the back because he knows that he put that there. I'm a big hockey fan, so I particularly enjoy his scenes yelling at Gary Bettman, because Gary Bettman can suck every penis in a rink. I'm fine with that. He sucks. Greedy little man. Anyways. So in that, I feel very attached to Dennis Reynolds, or Baldhead, Ball Silly, whatever his name was, which I think this movie should get a Razzie for the hairstyles, because Jay Baruchel looks like a mustacheless Albert Einstein by the end, and Dennis Reynolds looks like he's wearing a Three Stooges bald cap. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. Maybe he really did shave his head. I don't know. But anyways, this doesn't have anything to do with the writing. The writing of these movies is okay. I think it's better in Blackberry as far as the story goes. The Tetris, the twists and turns they put in it, I mean, like I said, I don't know the true story. I like tales of scheming Russian underbelly stuff. I like that, and I think they did that pretty well. And it was interesting to see it kind of woven into Soviet politics at the time. Yeah, but some of the dialogue is pretty bad and messy, and some of the performances they get, which we'll talk about later, I don't think are wonderful. But, we'll get there when we get there. So that's what I think about the writing. Gabe, you're last, buddy.
Yeah. I'll try to make it quick. You guys covered a lot of ground there. So I kind of feel the same. I think the Coen brothers were kind of notorious for kind of, kind of making the whole based on a true story thing kind of dubious. Do we really believe this was based on a true story? With Fargo or whatever. It's like, is it really? Or are they just saying that to make us think it's a true story, and that kind of thing? And I do think we really need to take that with kind of a, grain of salt whenever it says that. And maybe they should start adding the word loosely based on a true story. I felt like some of the things like a car chase and Tetris, it's like, okay, this is a movie about a video game, like a really early video game at that. And we have car chases. It seems a little bit maybe over the top, entertaining for sure, but kind of stretches the whole idea of it being based on a true story. Yeah, there are people playing, individuals who are real individuals in the real world, but how much of the story is true. So I don't know. I enjoyed them both. I definitely felt one. I have an opinion on the writing of one over the other, and we can do that in the voting.
I mean, I thought the story in Tetris, just the kind of the back and forth of it, and how close we were to not getting Tetris. It's interesting because going into these two movies, you go watch a movie called Blackberry, and you're going in to watch the fall of the company. You're going to just we all know that they were very big and had half the mobile market, and now they're nowhere. Whereas Tetris, kind of was on the precipice and rose to as one of the most popular video games ever. And so from that standpoint, they're both they're both kind of different stories because these are two products that are on two very different trajectories. And I don't know. I thought, as far as that is concerned, I think I preferred the story of Tetris, and I didn't have a problem with the dialogue in Tetris. I thought that, like Kyle said, kind of the Russian covert stuff was fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, I had problems with Blackberry, but it wasn't in this category. So,
all right, rounds ended. Let's put it to a vote, gentlemen. Andrew,
Tetris.
Kyle,
Blackberry.
Oh. Tom,
Tetris.
Gabe.
I found the writing in Tetris to be more fun.
All right. To prevent Tetris from being considered a kid's movie by being rated U for no material likely to offend or harm, the British equivalent to a G rating, Noah Pink intentionally added profanity to the script. And Jim's
the fuck?
Jim's line, "I'm from Waterloo, where the vampires hang out," is a reference to a fairly well-known viral video of a Toronto man being interviewed where he ends up ripping off his shirt, which is officially titled, quote, "Man Goes Crazy, Rips Off Shirt During Street Interview," end quote.
That's a perfect title for says what it does, what it says on the box.
That's right. There's no burying the lead on that.
No ambiguity there.
Nope. All right.
That's a true story.
True story. Loosely based on a true story with a grain of salt.
Right. The vampire part's probably fake.
All right. Let's move on to our second round, which is acting.
Acting, yes. The noblest of arts. Let's start with Tetris. I don't know how to critique Russian actors because they all kind of do the same thing sometimes. And especially in period pieces, I feel like they're all either playing corrupt or scared of the government. Those are their two notes. But I think they do an all right job. I don't think the performances in Tetris are stand out in any way. I think the lead Hank, which really threw me because I think I had the subtitles on at some point, or I saw his business card or something, and I was like, is his name spelled with an E? But yeah, Hank with an E. I want to say that's Taron Egerton, if I am correct there.
Correct.
I really should know this. I just watched the movie. But I thought he gave a good performance. He is really the beating heart of the film. He's very likable and charming. He gives a solid, determined performance. You root for him because you feel like you can be on his side. He's a little bit goofy. He's a family man. I mean, he's got all the makings of a strong protagonist. The enemy of like a Cold War communist Russia and a stuffy British aristocrat. Like, those are tropes right out of the movie playbook. I know they really existed as well, but I mean, there's a reason they're stereotypes, I guess. But I thought the acting was all around pretty solid, but not overly remarkable. The translator slash KGB agent was good, and I thought that was an interesting turn. I just start getting used to suspecting everyone in Russian films of being a secret KGB agent. It's kind of like if you ever watch a documentary about JFK's assassination, you learn how many people worked for the CIA in the 60s. It's like literally every third person in America. So you just assume that that's what's going on. You're being screwed over somehow. Yeah, so I think without a stronger performance, this movie could have really crashed and burned and could have been pretty boring without like such a pair of likable protagonists and his sweet interactions with his kid and things like that I really liked. Also, I'd like to say, I mean, I kind of skipped this in the writing, but I know it's based on a true story, but the idea of having someone with such a multicultural background living in Tokyo and most of the movie not taking place in America was really interesting, and I liked it. And a lot of the stuff you see in America is actually about Nintendo, which is kind of funny because it's a Japanese company. So it's a very world-spanning film, which I got to give it kudos for. Now, Blackberry. I think the acting in Blackberry is better than Tetris in most parts, but there are some exceptions. One being so I picked my avatar for this Twitch stream before I saw Blackberry because I thought this guy who plays Doug looks really funny and like seems like a character I could relate to. But he is really just a less funny Canadian Andy Samberg and really got on my nerves. But he was funny at points, but he's such a one-note character, really. That's kind of annoying. I like Jay Baruchel's movement from like a mousy engineer into like being, he's so able to be dominated and manipulated and conforms to like the stronger people above him that in the end he actually, just because of his intelligence and adaptability, like becomes enemy number one. I loved Glenn Howerton in this film. I don't know if he got any nominations for anything, but I think he should have. He probably is the best yeller going around in Hollywood right now. He's got one of the greatest anger outbursts, which he's honed by working on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I'm sure. But seeing him in a more serious role was great. I think he actually has a lot of range, and I was very impressed with his work. A lot of the people in the supporting cast are kind of ho-hum in Blackberry. Like, they give okay performances, but there really only are a few major players. Yeah, so I think it's propped up like the other one on the strength of its main actors.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Jay Baruchel, I can never say his name right, so I apologize. He normally plays very comedic roles and goofy roles, or the stoner role, and he has some good acting chops, because there is a very strong turn from him, like you said, from going that mousy to the executive to being that I can control you and he's just a puppet. He did it really well. Like, I wasn't exactly sure how this was going to play out, and he did a really nice job with that. I really enjoyed that. Edgerton, I love Taron. He's just awesome. I don't think there's a film I've seen him in so far that I'm like, he just did okay. He's a pretty awesome actor. So pretty excited about that. Yeah, not really a lot of the. I did like seeing the Starship's Trooper guy though in Blackberry. He was kind of fun. That was entertaining. And I'm really worried.
Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside. I'm really worried about the guy that played Bellicini because I was afraid he was going to pop a blood vessel or something. Even during the filming, he was he was hot. He just bulging out and screaming and yelling. I was worried about him. But overall, yeah, I would agree with you.
I mean, is this where we talk about Jay's hair?
It is a character.
We usually talk about hair. We usually talk about hair and makeup. I'm sorry. Between him and Doug, I mean, I don't know. They look like they were out of like a Lost Beastie Boys video. And it just before the show we were talking about Ferrari and how I kind of felt Adam Driver was playing a role that he's probably more fit for. In about 10 years, he did a great job, but I think 10 years from now it would be a better fit. And I think the same thing for Jay in this. I know that he's anxious to move out of that, that awkward, 20-something phase that he's been in for a while. But this just didn't seem like it was a good fit for him. I think, with Taron Egerton, I was thinking a lot about him and looking at the movies he's made. And honestly, more than just about anybody else, because when you look at movie stars, you kind of go back through their movies, you kind of get an idea of why they're making the movies they make. Like, I mean, Bradley Cooper really wants an Oscar. Like, he really wants an Oscar. And you can tell by the movies that he chooses and the roles he chooses that he feels like that's the first step in getting there. For some reason with Taron Egerton, I feel like his main purpose when he reads a script, the first thing he asks himself, is this a movie that people are going to want to see? Because I mean, his movies are just so much damn fun. Going back to Eddie the Eagle and Kingsman and Sing and Rocket Man. I mean, he's got some incredible range, and it seems like he really just wants to entertain people and make good movies that people will pay to see. And it's worked. He doesn't have a movie out there that I'm, largely, that I really don't like that much. So, kudos to him for that. I was very surprised. So I saw Michael Ironside's name at the beginning, and then the movie was over, and I said, where the hell is Michael Ironside? So I had to go back and remind myself that Top Gun was 40 years ago, and Michael Ironside's gotten older. So a lot older. I'm sorry, he was unrecognizable. He was unrecognizable.
It was when he spoke.
I don't know if it was the bolo tie or, like the weight that he put on, but he disappeared into that role. But I know from growing up as a kid in the 80s, if Michael Ironside walks into the room where you work, you have problems. So I wish I'd known that was him, because it would have landed better with me. So, I feel like the actors in Tetris, particularly, I thought particularly the Russian actors did a really good job. I thought. What was his name? Belikov? What was it? Olga Stefan. He was great. I thought he was really great as kind of the middleman between Elorg and Hank's character, and seeing his character shift from that, as an operative, a Russian operative, and into trying to help things fall apart. And then Roger Allam, who played Robert Maxwell, he's a fantastic English actor, and he was great in Speed Racer and V for Vendetta. He's just, I absolutely love seeing him and stuff. So, yeah.
I don't know if he's that large by nature, but if that is fake and his face is fake, that needs to go with Jay Baruchel and Glenn Howerton's hair, because it looked fake to me.
Fake.
It did. It did to me.
I don't
No
Michael
insult,
Ironside,
if that's real. No. I'm talking about the guy who played the head of the Mirrorsoft.
No, Roger Allen is not that big.
Okay,
Oh, it did kind of. You're right. It did look a little bit fake. Like
it was I was having like a real Big Mama's house situation.
Oh my God! Did you just bring up Big Mama's house?
We haven't talked about it in a while, so
I didn't have that on my CineSmack bingo card.
I like to work it in. Start putting that in 2025. I'll be mentioning it once a year.
Oh God, come on.
Yes, Blade Runner. I didn't see any Blade Runner connections with any of these actors, so we can skip that part. But I really like Taron Egerton. I think he really melts into a role. He becomes unrecognizable. I really liked him in Kingsman. That was the first time I had ever encountered him. And I thought he was just going to be some kind of, beefy hunk who was going to do all these kinds of action movies and that kind of thing. But he has really branched out, and he is a really talented actor. And I do think he very much carries Tetris. I think he's got a good supporting cast, but he's just so good and so fun to watch. I really like him. I think he's really quite a talented actor. I felt, though, Kyle, I'm going to have to disagree with you a little bit on Glenn Howerton. I like him, but I felt like his performance was a little bit cliche. Like, this is the angry CEO businessman character who yells all the time. And I just felt like it wasn't. I just felt like it was a little bit cliche, and I think maybe his hair, the hair thing, kind of like took me out of it a little bit too. I liked the performances in Blackberry, but yeah, I think like Tom was saying, they're in some cases they were trying to age these people a little prematurely or something. It's like, well, could we just get actors in roughly that age that can play these parts? I don't know. I thought the acting was good, but I didn't feel like it was outstanding. And I really thought Taron Egerton was outstanding, and he has been in almost everything I've seen with him in it. So,
I mean, I agree with what you said about Glenn Howerton, but I will, I'll defend him on the one scene when he comes in the office and finds out that they turned on him and handed him over to the SEC. And
mm-hmm.
I mean, so he's had all of these really great explosive, just eruptions.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly when he gets turned into the SEC, he suddenly turns everything inward. And he can't help but be proud of this guy for turning him in.
That smile.
That smile that he does. And he's like, and it's a Obi-Wan to Luke smile where it's just kind of like, I taught you well. Like, you're going to be all right, kid. And I don't know. I think, honestly, it's weird, but that one look might have saved the movie for me because I otherwise would have been pretty dismissive of it. But that, just being able to see the two of them kind of cross paths as, he gets burned and Jay stands up for himself, I thought was, that was probably my favorite moment in the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were talking about look a little bit like with the two guys from Blackberry. You guys have hung out with tech engineers a lot, have you? Or met a lot? The reason I ask is because like that whole beginning scene, like where they're kind of just in the rented space and it's just a bunch of guys and they all are into science fiction and playing video games and they're all just kind of like t-shirts and shorts kind of guys. Like that, to me, I look at that and I'm like, yep, that is exactly what a tech startup looks like.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I bet you. I mean,
I'm sure it does.
That felt very authentic to me. I'm talking about specifically about Jay's hair.
Yeah, the swoopy back, but that's because he was trying to imitate. Like the character he was imitating was, is a short little turkey guy that has a round face with swoopy white hair like
awesome. So here's the thing that I would say: if you're going to take some creative liberties to help the movie, maybe that's one you could fudge on. I don't think anybody's going to come back and go, his hair was swoopier than that.
I didn't buy the hair. Is that what you're trying to say?
Because everyone else, it took I mean, it's coming up a lot. It took a lot of people out of the movie. So I think, I think it would have just kind of been, God, it's just a little bit over the top. So
It was bad.
All right.
so nobody told
and maybe, and maybe this isn't the category for it because it's not really acting necessarily. But although somebody said his hair was a character,
Virology.
yeah, maybe it was just poorly done as well. It wasn't a really well done, wig or whatever it was. It just wasn't. Maybe if it had been done a little bit better.
You should go look at the real guy.
See, and that's the thing. Maybe it's nobody told the hair people like, oh, hey, by the way, this is just based on a true story. So you know what that means in Hollywood, right? Yeah.
All right.
Loosely is the word we normally use.
Loosely.
Do his hair.
Loosely, yes. I think that should be mandatory nowadays.
Put it to a vote.
Yeah.
Okay, God, you're a
Kyle.
little Nazi tonight.
Jeez,
Jesus.
he is.
God,
Wow.
I'm tired of
For someone
talking
who doesn't
about his
look like
hair.
Glorious bastards.
Jesus.
This has been very taxing on me, as Kyle would put it. Kyle.
Yes. Well, I'm going to levy the acting tax against Tetris and go with Blackberry.
Oh, all right. Tom.
I got to go with Tetris on this one.
All right. Gabe. I lost my voting order.
I need to go with Taron Egerton and Tetris.
Okay. And Andrew.
Tetris.
All right. Due to the very short amount of time that Glenn Howerton had to prepare for the role of Jim Balsillie, he was unable to meet Jim before filming. Howerton also said that Jim rarely made public appearances or gave interviews, which would have helped him to play Jim. Balsillie didn't know what to make of Glenn Howerton's performance originally, until he saw the film with a crowd who reacted well to Howerton's performance. Tetris is the fifth collaboration between Taron Egerton and producer Matthew Vaughn, after Kingsman: The Secret Service, Eddie the Eagle, Kingsman: The Golden Circle, and Rocket Man. So that's your Spielberg
I was going to
and
say
Hanks, right?
Hanks. Yeah.
And your sorry, I am totally blanking on the name. Shaun of the Dead guys. Edgar Wright and
Simon
Pegg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg, and then I can never think of the other guy's name.
Oh yes.
Because they all write together.
Nick Frost?
Yes, Nick
Thank
Frost.
you, Kyle.
Yeah.
Jeez, that was terrible of me.
Yeah, and that seems to be a winning combination at this point.
Yes, agreed. All right. Let's go to our third round. Directing.
Hey, all right. So I'm going to take this one. So what we have here, we have two directors that have been in the game for, they've both been in the game maybe about 10 years, and they're on there. But both of them seem to be on the up and coming, if you're going to kind of categorize them as such. So there's not a lot of history or other movies. Typically, when we get to this, we can talk about the other movies in their canon. And but these are definitely the two biggest movies that these two directors have done. We can agree to that, right? Right. So one of the interesting things about these movies is that both the directors kind of neither one of them were happy enough just to tell the story as it actually happened. And we talked about this a little bit in the writing category, but there's also this these visual flourishes that both of them added to the movie. Tetris is a bit more obtuse, and Blackberry is a little more subtle, but we'll start with Blackberry because it's kind of more subtle. Matt Johnson, the director, kind of chose this kind of shaky cinema verite shooting style that, to be honest, it started the movie. I feel like he kind of gave up on it partway through. That I like 10 minutes into the movie, I was like, if he's going to be doing this the entire movie, I'm going to kind of lose my mind, because it seems like he was doing it for the sake of doing it. And I know that it was trying to help create this, like make it more real, like as if there was a camera in there, almost like an episode of The Office. But it was really distracting for me that he decided to do that. And
yes,
so that's,
I found exactly the same thing.
But then
I found that distracting.
Yeah, but then like it stopped, and then right about the time when Glenn Howerton comes in and joins Rim, it settles down a little bit, and the film kind of stabilizes, which I really appreciated. Tetris, on the other hand, chose these graphic flourishes where they use these 8-bit graphics to kind of act as transitions and segues, and then also, like in the example of the car chase, that actually used video game graphics as the car is racing through the street. Now it's really funny because that John Baird, the director, was going in the opposite direction. That I feel like those visual flourishes were his way of saying, this part of the story we kind of fudged on a little bit. There was not really a car chase, and so we're going to add some little video game graphics to kind of nudge you in the ribs and say this part's not real. And it initially took me out of it, and I didn't care for it very much. Again, because I'm like, why would you need to do this? If the real story is that good. But realizing now that that's his intent, was to make you realize that these parts of the story aren't, this part of the story, particularly the car race, is not, or car chase is not real. It gave doing that meaning, and it made more sense that way, why he did it. And I can appreciate that. Aside from that, I thought both films, in terms of like composition, both did a really great job. The cinematography in Blackberry is a little bit more attractive. These are, it's shot in strip malls and parking lots and boardrooms. And if you've ever shot in one of those, what a boring pain in the ass it is to shoot film and video in a situation like that. So, but they were able to make those scenes, visually appealing and interesting, while people were talking about profit and loss. You got to give something for them to look at, which I thought was really well done. So I don't know. There's pluses and minuses for both directors and their work on this. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, you mentioned the kind of the more local, realistic setting for Blackberry, and I think that adds to the real feel of the movie. It doesn't always have a great deal of production value, but I think it's really well lit and shot. I think they chose some, I feel like, old diner, added a little bit to the feeling that, these events took place in the past, and some of the technology they use and things like that are pretty on point. I'm not sure if what they thought they were getting with the hair and the bald cap and stuff. I know we've kind of gone on about this, but it feels like really the director's purview to be like, hey, this looks weird or wacky, or like, can we fix this? There's something going on here that's just not striking the eye correctly, because he's the one looking down the barrel of the camera over and over again. But I don't know, just thinking about maybe it'd be distracting or not. But I really like the way it was shot. I think the use of the close-ups and the wide shots were great. The wide shots for stuff like walking into a crowded boardroom and it being kind of establishing you being out there on your own, pitching something to a group of people and you don't know how it's going to be received. I thought they did a really good job conveying emotion. The close-up shots for the very serious stuff, the back and forth with the negotiations and all that stuff I really liked. I like the way were always giving their actors things to do, with their hands, with the phone, with something, so that they're not just standing there looking, talking to each other, listening, waiting for their turn to speak. Sometimes in very dialogue-heavy movies, you can kind of feel it feels a little bit actory in that way. But I thought they got a great performance out of Cary Elwes, even though he's not in the movie a lot. His switch from laughing about how he got rich off selling 2-liter bottles of Mountain Dew to threatening a hostile takeover over donuts and coffee. That was great. They got great performances out of a lot of the actors, but I don't know how I feel about Doug and how he fits in this movie. He's like a goofy comic relief character running around, and he literally looks like a caricature. Like he's a man who never takes off a headband. I don't understand that. Maybe that's true to his character, but like even when he's in a boardroom with a suit on, he's got a headband on, a sweatband. I don't understand that. I feel like if you were to tell me this guy's hair was fake and that headband was holding on his wig, I would believe it of this movie, but something tells me that's just the way this dude is. Tetris, they added a lot of action to otherwise would be kind of a dry retelling. I like the spy aspect. I like the covert aspect. Like I said, I'm a fan of Soviet espionage. I like that kind of stuff. I think they did a great job bringing that out. They brought out the very obvious differences between places like Tokyo and New York and inside the Soviet Union. And yeah, the car chase was really cool. There was a lot of atmospheric stuff built in about, am I being spied on? What's everybody know? And they got a great performance out of the actors there. Taron Egerton is really like a person leading with his heart and just the consummate person you want to root for. They really got that out of him. How much he brought to it and how much they had to direct him, we don't know, but I thought that was great. And yeah, I don't think I can fault either of these movies too much for the directing. I think they're both very competently directed. I get what you mean about some of the camera movements and stuff being a little distracting at times, and for things that, I don't know, maybe it doesn't always fit, but it never really took me out of the movie too much. So I can't really have too many gripes about it.
Yeah, I felt like in Blackberry that the camera, the very clear choice to use the camera that way, where it was kind of a, run and gun documentary style kind of, a la The Office kind of thing. It kind of started to drive me nuts because I felt like, why are we doing this? And because we're not under, for The Office, I mean, we're under the impression that they're actually being filmed by a documentary crew or something, and so it's kind of like, okay, well, this makes sense. And they even will break the fourth wall and look right into the camera and that kind of thing. And I felt like it was a little bit misused here. I kind of like the style in things like, the Bourne Identity and that kind of thing. The Bourne movies use a similar kind of style where the camera's always kind of, it's never really steady, and the focal distance changes, and but somehow it works for that. And I think it has something to do with kind of like we're looking in on something secret and there's this chaos going on and there's a fight scene, and it works really well for like the fight scenes in those movies. But I felt like it was distracting in Blackberry. I kind of didn't like it, and I think they also maybe tried to make it look a little bit older by using some sort of a desaturated, grainy kind of look to it.
There was definitely a LUT used in that whole movie.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I don't have anything against that necessarily, but there was something about the combination of the two that kind of, I don't know, it just kind of turned me off in that respect. Whereas I thought Tetris was beautiful. I thought it looked really great, and I really enjoyed watching it. And from a directorial standpoint, I really like how they incorporated those 8-bit graphics, and I thought that the pacing was good. I don't know. I think I'm getting old, or I am falling victim to the whole smartphone era. But I do feel like these movies are long. There's always, all the movies that I go to anymore just seem too long. It's like, why is this movie 2 hours? Do we really need the full 2 hours for this? I don't know. I thought the pacing was good on Tetris. It was maybe a little long. I thought the pacing was a little bit slow on Blackberry, and it was also maybe a little bit too long. But I don't know. That could just be me. I could just be ADD and can't sit for 2 hours straight anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. I would say that I thought it was interesting that you guys were talking about. I think, Gabe, you were mentioning the graininess and the kind of washed out look and the over brightness of the Blackberry movie. I did find it interesting, though, that the saturation changed as the movie progressed, which I thought was kind of interesting. It wasn't quite as washed out and grainy at the end as it was at the beginning. So I don't know if that was a showing of time passage or technology. I don't know, but I did notice that as well. I also thought it was interesting in the Tetris movie how basically each act of the story was told with the Tetris graphics of level 1, level 2, level 3 as they went through. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, that's very fun.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of expected. You almost kind of like, if they don't do this, then they're making a mistake.
I mean, because overall, I mean, Tetris, regardless of all the crazy shenanigans that technically went on for real, it was an extremely, and still is today, an extremely fun game that millions and billions of people play and love, and it's great. And so I think they kind of added that a little bit to add to the lightheartedness and make it a less of a serious, movie, with adding a little bit of the cool double agent and the KGB stuff on the side to spice it up, and give a little bit of that run, which I think helped push that story along. So it wasn't just a bunch of guys fighting over contracts. Because I mean, I don't necessarily want to watch that movie, but so I felt that it was good that they did that.
Yeah, I forgot. I should have mentioned the really neat graphical inclusions in Tetris. I love the use of 8-bit stuff. I think it adds flair to the movie and spices up what could otherwise be kind of I don't want to say boring, but maybe a more drab movie. Gabe, I get what you're saying about lengths of movies, but these are like 2 hours, which is the gold standard now for movies. 2 hours is short.
Well, this is true. Some of my favorite movies are closer to 3. So
I looked up Argyle because Heather and I want to go see it, which is a movie we've talked about, I think, prior to the recording, and I think it's 2.5 hours.
2 hours 19.
Oh, it's 2:19. So that's like a light comedy spy thriller movie, and we're getting those at 2:19 now.
Right.
So you'll be happy, Gabe. Specifically, my recommendation for this month comes in at a trim 90 minutes.
Oh,
I think
I heard
that
about
was
it on
that was the target for a long time.
I heard an interview on a podcast where the guy's like, I was just going to make this movie by myself. And I sent it to someone and they said, we can totally make this. And they go, you guys, you're going to love this. It's going to be so cheap. It's only 90 minutes. and he's like, I'm so tired of movies being so damn long now. So they made a movie in 90 minutes and it is just about the perfect length. When I see like your odds of selling a ticket when your movie is 90 minutes drastically go up with me, because I'm just like, all right, even if it sucks, I'm in and out. Because
just think about how many more showings you can get too.
No, that's true. I don't know. Movies aren't selling out anymore, but I remember going to see Holmes and Watson in the theater. Now I don't know how long that movie is.
Yeah,
it feels like 5 hours long. It's only an hour and 30 minutes.
That's a different phenomenon.
Yes, it is. They say time flies when you're having fun. Well, it can drag ass when you are so mad. I have never in my life walked out of a movie. I've been thrown out of a movie, but I have never walked out of a movie. And Holmes and Watson was the closest I ever got.
A 90-minute movie nowadays is a rom-com, and that's about as far as you could get.
Yeah, I think
Something
like
to find on TV.
a lot of comedies and stuff are probably shorter ones too.
All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised though if there are a lot of comedies that are an hour 45, 2 hours now.
Let's put it to a vote, gentlemen.
Mike's like, all right, let's.
No, I totally agree with you guys on movie length. Tom?
Oh, hang on. I got 5 more minutes on Jay's hair. Can I do that real quick?
Sure,
Yes,
go
let's
ahead.
do it.
Let's do it.
That's
you
fine.
can, you can save that for overall. You can do that in the next category.
We do need to do a new category for the show that is just hair.
Yeah. We can have a
Makeup
fifth
effects.
round.
All right. I'll give it to Tetris.
All right. Gabe?
Tetris.
Andrew?
Tetris.
And Kyle.
Yeah, I'm going to break my streak here, and I got to vote for Tetris.
All right. Born in Peterhead, 30 miles from Aberdeen, director John S. Baird, gigging,
Sorry.
always wanted to use Aberdeen in one of his films, and there are a number of Aberdeen locations seen in the movie. The character Alexei Patnikoff, nailed it, is seen playing tennis and is approached by the KGB on the roof of the West North Street multi-story car park. And the ELORG computer building is the Aberdeen University Zoology building on Tillydrone Avenue. By the way, Tillydrone is now my new favorite word. Director Matt Johnson had originally wanted to include a brief clip of Total Recall in Blackberry for one of the movie nights scene that the RIM team have within this film. This was intended as an in-joke because actor Michael Ironside, who plays Charles Purdy in this film, was also in the former movie. However, the rights to use the clip proved too complicated to obtain. Is Carolco? I believe
Carolco?
Yeah, Carolco, right?
Yeah.
The studio that made that film declared bankruptcy in the mid-1990s. And see, I didn't know that. Not wanting to spend months trying to find out who to obtain permission from, the idea was eventually dropped.
And now they're making a movie about getting the rights to RoboCop.
Are they really? You
Why
said
not?
that so deadpan. I have
Loosely.
no idea if you're telling the truth.
I'm
Well
more
done on the
impressed that
delivery, Gabe.
I'm more impressed
my
they got
God.
clips of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
I have
kind of
hooked
blown
inside
away
my
with that.
cheek.
it's true. All right. Let's move on
And-
to our fourth and final round, hair talk.
All hair all the time in this round. I do want to mention, Kyle, that Holmes and Watson is exactly 90 minutes according to IMDb. Like, exactly 90 minutes. Just so
Yeah,
you-
I think they
just so
figured
you know.
out how long the average person will tolerate something.
I
Right.
remember Kyle telling me about going to see Holmes and Watson, and that itself can be an hour and 90-minute monologue.
We can
from Kyle
we'll have a
himself.
rant about this later, but I've never seen a more disappointing comedy, and that's just depressing.
And yeah, you have to really try. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you have to really try hard to really do a terrible comedy. Like, there's,
Well, if you told
even
me
in a
Will
bad
Ferrell,
one, there's funny stuff.
Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly are going to be in a 90-minute movie, and one joke is going to land, and I'm not shitting you, one joke is going to land the entire movie. The rest of it, you will groan in agony. That's disappointment right there.
Mm.
That's like how every woman feels after they agree to sleep with me.
Wow, this round just changed dramatically.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm just
Yeah.
highlighting.
We're not even
consent,
talking about
guys.
hair.
It's 2024.
Yeah.
Agree.
Wait,
We have a negotiation.
we're not talking about hair? Are you sure?
Well, maybe. I don't know. Not the same kind of hair that we started out with. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to mention that was exactly 90 minutes. In in this category, in this round, we often talk about music, and I wanted to do a shout out to the music in Tetris. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I really thought it embodied it embodied that whole era in video gaming, and it was, it really fit in the theme of the movie, and I really enjoyed the music. It was something that actually stood out to me, and I kind of noticed. So that's just one thing I wanted to mention in this category is the music. Now, I don't remember. Do you guys remember any music from Blackberry? Was there anything that stood out to you?
A lot of songs, interstitials between the years and when they were working on the phones, I guess. But it's hard for me to relate to that. Like, I was like, man, how old are the Strokes that this is in this movie in like 2003? Are they really that old? Which just shows how old I actually am. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like nothing stood out. And it's kind of depressing coming off of Fletch and Axel F, We're like, these are cool songs. I mean, Tom could go on forever about that closing Fletch song. But yeah, these are so unmemorable, like, other than trying to throw in whatever cultural zeitgeisty moments they're trying to get out of stuff.
Yeah, and that seems to be really common in a lot of period pieces. And maybe it's to be expected, but when it's a period piece, then it's like, okay, well, now we're going to include music from that time in here, and it almost becomes predictable and kind of cliche, and like we're just trying to sell some sort of a soundtrack or something. I don't know, but I really enjoyed.
I
Go ahead.
I was going to say I thought Tetris handled it way better than Blackberry did.
Yeah, I actually really liked the music in Tetris. I thought it was very fitting.
And I don't remember. I mean, when they roll the ending credits and they do Opportunities by Pet Shop Boys with the Tetris theme mixed into it, chef's kiss. I thought it was great. I was like, I need to find that remix. I've never thought that those two songs would go so well together. And they're like, well, we'll just mix these two together, and we got the perfect song for credits. It was great.
And by the way,
really got lucky with a game having such an iconic score too. I guess maybe I use score loosely. Theme song or repeating song. Like Tetris is very memorable to all of us who lived through that time. You hear that sound. And you're like, oh yeah, yeah, it gets stuck in your head. It's like Mario Brothers song, whatever. Yeah. Or
and
Adam's
I appreciate
theme by MC Hammer, things like that. Stuck in your head.
I appreciate they didn't lean on it too much too. I mean, they could have. All right, so now we're going to do it all with strings and slow it way down for when you think his wife is going to leave him.
Am I wrong in remembering that they did do like a slow version of it at one point, though?
Yes, they do. They do.
See, yeah. I like that. I like when your brain has to go, hold on, I recognize this. And that's kind of cool. But yeah, different. Although it made the movie a lot funnier if every musical piece was that theme in a different style. To like... Oh, something wacky's happening, and they play it in ragtime. That'd be kind of funny. Like, I'd be like, wow, they really, really sold out on this song.
They have the rights for the song, and they're like, we can remix it however we want. We don't have to pay for any more songs.
I just want to mention that the composer for Tetris also did Argyle, which we mentioned earlier. We were talking about earlier. So there's kind of a connection there. I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, I don't know if I have anything else really. I mean, we kind of talked about in the directing category, we talked about cinematography and we talked about the 8-bit graphics in Tetris and that kind of thing. I don't know if I have anything else really that I wanted to touch on in the overall category. We talked about the length of the movies and the pacing. I don't know.
I'm going to be a little bit nerdy. So one of the things I thought was really, really cool about actually both of these movies is a lot of the technology that they showed and or talked about was actually true. Like Blackberry actually invented the way to receive emails on networks without having any kind of problems with the servers. They also went down a lot, and it made news a lot. They also had the very first, and I remember when I had my Crackberry on Singular, AT&T Singular, how when we finally got free texting, because they basically went around everything, and we got all data texting, and I was like, this is amazing. So it's really cool that they talked about that. One of the other side of the coin in Tetris, when they actually show his computer, that is actually the very first version of Tetris. So the brackets and everything going down. And so it's really cool that they actually grabbed his code set and compiled it and ran it so that way people could see this is what Tetris used to be. And what I found really fascinating, which again, this is me nerding out because I have studied the code of Tetris and I know kind of what he went through and stuff. Originally, Tetris was a 5-block standard. So all the blocks, instead of being 4, they were 5. But it was mathematically overpowering. So he reduced it by 1 to make it much easier, which I think is absolutely amazing. Like I said, this is the nerd part of the podcast for these movies, I guess. Like, because I think all that stuff is really, really cool to me. So,
well, and that's one thing that I kind of didn't like about Tetris is when he's over there at his house and he's showing him the original game and he's like, oh, those rows should all disappear when you get them, and that kind of thing. He's like, oh, hold on, and then he like codes that up in about 30 seconds. I'm like, no, that would take a lot longer, and who knows. Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, maybe he was some sort of genius, but I would think, that it would take a little bit longer to get that right. And then who knows? I mean, did they have to compile it to run it? Then you got to wait for it to compile on a silly computer like that in the olden days.
No. It's not. That's not how it ran. It actually has an interpreter that actually does that. They don't do compiling and stuff like what we do now. So it is a little bit different.
Yeah, but I still found it a little unbelievable that he would code that up that fast.
I know that part kind of felt like a montage to me. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I could. Yeah, I agree.
It felt like they spent like, I don't know. It felt like it took an hour or two from the way it was edited, but I don't know. I was only half watching. I was playing Tetris at the time.
I just, like I said, for nostalgia reasons and, from backgrounds and things like that, I just thought it was really neat that they actually showed it. Because I don't know if a lot of people have ever seen the original Tetris before it actually showed up on Game Boy. So I thought that was kind of neat. Okay, I'll shut up about nerdy stuff.
No,
I just killed this podcast totally.
I very much Tetris kind of missed me. It was of my era, but it missed me because I sucked at it, and it's a frustrating game to suck at because you can very quickly get overwhelmed, or because I had pretty poor hand-eye coordination, as demonstrated by my Little League baseball history. That it was hard for me to make those last-minute moves to fit blocks into places. And so I'd get super frustrated. So Tetris kind of missed me. I knew people liked it, but it just was not a thing. I was too busy playing muscle wrestling or Nintendo wrestling or Kung Fu, those games, but.
And what's funny is just a month ago, a 13-year-old got the highest level in Tetris ever.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone in the world is getting better at everything. So we're just breaking all these old things that people thought couldn't be broken, like getting to the kill screens of all these games that nobody was able to do.
Yeah, or the speed runners out there.
The speedrunners are just nuts. That's such a specialized skill of you can never get frustrated and you can't get bored of trying to do better at the same thing over and over again.
Right.
And those are just not skills I have.
And you have to memorize patterns,
yes.
Not just with your mind and eyes, but with your hands.
Yes, it's some muscle memory thing too. So, and as we all know, I'm mostly gristle. So,
and the way they're
doing memory as well.
And the way they're doing
gristle
this
memory
is
a gristle memory. That's like when you eat a really fatty steak and you get heartburn at bed. That's your gristle memory.
Mine comes back as snoring at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You
still got grease on your lips.
Yeah, I feel like maybe people are evolving. That it's they're genetically different now. And so
I think they've grown up with this, right? Like as speaking Tom, myself, Gabe, and Andrew, like I know I am late, almost last year of the Gen X. And we didn't grow up with this. I mean, to the point where it was there when we were babies.
We are the last generation that did not have the internet when we were kids.
Right. And
we know what it's like with and without. We're the only generation alive that can.
Right. But I mean, now and this is just my theory. Now these newer generations, I mean, this is the world they know, right? Like everything becomes second nature to them because they've known it for longer. That's just the theory of mine. So I don't think they're evolving. I just think they have the skills, like it's, just kind of baked into them at a younger age. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I think that's why they're so good at it.
They've invented new techniques too. Because the 13-year-old that did it, it's called the rolling and tapping method, and he actually has the controller squished between both of his hands, and he's like tapping it really fast, and it bounces between his two fingers to be able to do things faster. It's insane.
Cool. Yeah, they develop specialized skills and tools.
I will tell you that. So I mean, I'm an Apple fanboy. So the entire time I'm watching Blackberry, I'm kind of like that episode of The Simpsons when Itchy and Scratchy are driving to the fireworks factory and Milhouse is getting impatient. Like, when are they going to get to the fireworks factory? So the whole time I'm watching Blackberry, I'm just like, when are they going to release the iPhone? I want to see the looks on their fucking faces. I got to see this. And it was such a great part of that movie. They were so dismissive of it. And I'm just like, I'm taking notes on my iPhone while I'm watching this movie.
Jay Baruchel's reaction when he's like, anyone who'd use the iPhone is stupid. It's going to crash your system. It's going to commit suicide. I mean, maybe he felt that way. It probably was also coming from some fear. Yeah. But that was just it was like lashing out at like, this is going to be awful and stupid and terrible. And my stuff is great. And what everyone really wants is a little mouse pointer that you can move around your screen.
And a keyboard. Why don't you want a keyboard?
And a giant...
Right.
Well, I had one of those phones. I had one of those phones where you can push the screen up to reveal the keyboard underneath.
Wasn't that like the Sidekick or something like that?
I had probably a knockoff Sidekick. But I also had a Motorola Razor, so you know how cool I was. I also... See, I'm an older millennial. So I was born in 83. So... I lived through pagers and cell phones. My first computer was an Apple IIe, but by the time I was in high school, I had like Pentiums. So I experienced like the whole gamut of things. And I think starting with technology where I was got me much better prepared when I went to school, because a lot of kids my age didn't have computers when they were 5. Right. My uncle was like super into like, computers are going to be the future. I'm going to buy your son a computer for his birthday. And so I was working on an Apple IIe when I was like 5 years old. So by the time I got to school and I started doing that stuff, I was way ahead of other people.
Well, I mean, when I would say that, while I was younger, preteens, I was working with what we would consider a rudimentary computer with like the Intellivisions and, the stuff that we have now is dramatically different, The stuff I was working on when I was a kid fits in our pocket 10 times. So that makes a huge difference too.
Well, it's really funny. I look back and I think those games that I bought for the Nintendo or for the Super Nintendo or whatever, that came in these big cartridges and you had to buy $multi-$100 systems to play them and stuff. It's a $3.99 app on the App Store.
For all of them. For all of them.
I know. It's just how far we've come from that in such a short amount of time. It's pretty staggering. Like the rate of innovation is nuts. And now I'm going back to school. So part of my schooling now, which I'm sure a lot of people, even younger students, are being taught, are how to interact with AI. So they encourage us to write our own stuff, then ask AI for improvements and see if you agree with them and work them in, and then give the AI credit as like a source. And it is really scaring me as a 40-year-old man how smart even just Chat GPT is. I can, like, I'm doing an assignment right now where I'm doing a cover letter for a resume. I know it's very rudimentary and I'm 40 years old, but it's part of the course. So I literally just dumped my cover letter into Chat GPT, and it says, your letter's good here, it's weak here, you should do this instead. You should have much more formal regard, reinforce your interest towards the end of the cover letter. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's like talking to a business professor.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
And I'm no fun because I'm the magician that knows the magic that goes behind all of that, and I look at it and go, huh.
Yeah, it's just like predictive text or whatever.
It's a large language model.
Yeah, but it's kind of for someone who doesn't know the secrets. Yeah, it's weird.
It's very magic. I agree 100%.
All right.
Get
Just
control,
real quick,
Mike.
I remember when preteen Mike saw his first abacus, and I was like, "This is going to change the world."
Oh shit!
Yeah. Next month on Senior Smack.
we're all sounding so old, but it's true.
All this technology,
like Kyle
are
said,
all of you
with the AI, like I cannot draw. I mean, Kyle has seen my storyboards.
You're a great artist,
and it's just stick figures. Yes, yeah. And I'm like, this just gets the point across. I cannot draw. I'm not an artist, drawing or painting wise. So I have been using some AI to try and get some of these ideas for things as far as art is concerned, because I can't pay someone to do the thing for me. And it's crazy the amount of times that you're like, nope, that's not it. And you hit it again. Nope, that's not it. And it's like 4 or 5 times down. And then it's like, oh my God, that's almost close. Let's save that. Change these words, change how where they are in your description and see where that gets you. AI is crazy, but this is an AI smack.
Gabe, what Gabe was going to say something.
Yeah, Gabe.
Oh, yeah, I was. I don't know. I don't even remember. But I was going to mention that one of my very first cell phone that I ever had was a Palm Trio.
Oh, jeez.
Do you remember those at all? It was kind of like a Blackberry, but from Palm Pilot. And you remember like the PDA, the personal digital assistant. From
Jack
Palm.
Barry used them all the time.
yeah, and it was a huge thing. Like at our company, there was a guy that was a real kind of like bleeding edge tech nerd and that kind of thing. He always had them and really was pushing them really hard, and he was trying to get them for everybody in the company and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, whatever happened to Palm Pilot? I assume it's a similar fate
as Blackberry.
But
they tried to buy Blackberry.
Oh, you're right. I do kind of remember that. Yeah.
That was Carrie Elwes.
But BlackBerry's still in business. They do cybersecurity stuff.
And Palm Pilots is too.
Well, it was taken over by the Dread Pirate robbers.
It was by the Dread Pirate robbers.
Right.
All right, Gabe, vote.
Me. Oh, yes.
Yes, that's your name.
Vote. Yeah, I couldn't. I didn't hear you. Somebody was. Oh my god! I can't hear anybody. Dear Lord, I hate that. So, who can break into Mike's house and break that thing? Break that button. Jeez. Anyway, Tetris for me.
All right. Andrew.
This is just insane.
We went from talking about movies, talking old man talk to
You guys are old. You guys are all
AI.
just a bunch of old farts. My God.
Well, okay, I was going. Oh, yes, I remember now. Are all of you guys millennials?
No,
I am not. I'm
no.
Gen X.
I am
I'm-
solid
okay.
Gen X.
I'm
Me too.
considered.
Me
I'm
too.
considered a Zennial, which is that in between Gen X and Millennial.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was afraid I was the only Gen Xer on the whole thing.
No, oh God, no.
That's why I said. That's why I figured it was you, Tom, myself, and Andrew, because I know Kyle is younger than us. No offense, Kyle.
Yep.
No offense.
Yeah.
I'll still
You
die
youngest?
before every one of you.
I was 12 when Tetris came out. I remember it vividly. So
What year did it come out?
88.
I was 5.
1988.
So
Yeah.
I think Nintendo launched in what, 89? Was it 89 when Nintendo came
85,
out?
85, 86 is when NES
Yes.
came out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was pretty young, but I really wanted it, even at like 3 years old.
Sure.
Yep. All right, go, Mike. Sorry. Wrap
Andrew?
up senior cast.
Andrew.
Tetris.
All right. Thank you. Kyle.
I vote for Matlock.
Murder, she wrote.
Blackberry's getting smoked. I'm going to give him Blackberry so Glenn Howerton doesn't yell at me.
Fair enough. And Tom.
I don't know. These movies these days are too long.
I can't stay
Oh my
away.
God, you guys have hit like every old person stereotype so far. Tetris.
Oh, fantastic. Carl Yankowski, who was portrayed by Carrie Elways, died on May 13th, 2023, a day after the film was released in Canada.
That seems to happen a lot.
Robert Maxwell in Tetris is the father of 9 children, one of whom is Ghislaine Maxwell. And I imagine I don't need to read any more of that, right?
Wait.
What?
Ghislaine was
that's
found guilty of
Epstein's
child sex
co-conspirator.
trafficking in connection with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, it's Epstein's co-conspirator.
Giselle? Isn't it Giselle?
Oh, is it?
Or not?
Did you call her gasoline?
No, Ghislaine. It's
Ghislaine?
Giselle.
That's not better.
Ghislaine. Giselle's what
Giselle.
she was
Giseline,
called.
is
Yeah.
that what you
I'm
said?
pretty sure it's Giselle.
I'm pretty sure that's all right.
Glycerine.
No one's gonna
Maxwell.
defend. No one's gonna
It's not a
defend.
Bush song.
People aren't even defending the pronunciation of her name anymore. Yeah, gasoline. That sounds good. Moving
Gasoline.
on.
Yep, that works. Horrible fucking person. How about that?
God.
So I was going to say Tetris was very entertaining to me, and I loved the flourishes. I agreed with you guys immensely on what you said about, using some of the graphics in it, keeping the story, just adding to the story. Blackberry, I just did not like that movie at all. And it was the shaky cam and the zooming in and zooming out. I totally agree with Gabe. It just felt too much like, oh, hey, we're just flies on the wall watching this, almost Office style. And it did not work for me at all. But I will say I loved Carrie Elways, and I loved, I always forget his name, and you guys mentioned it, Glenn Howerton. I really liked both of their performances, and that's about all I took out of that movie. I just did not like it. And I think it was mainly the camera the camera work and the lack of. It just felt like, okay, here's a wide, and then they just go on medium, and medium close shots. Like that's all they were going for. And it just, yeah. And it really bugged me a lot. And it definitely, it was the camera work that really bugged me. So anyway,
Enhance.
That's my rant. Let's go on to recommendations.
Enhance.
Zoom in and enhance. Recommendations for this month. Andrew.
Oh crap, I gotta go first. Oh, okay. I'm going to do another movie that was based on a true story that actually was based from a book from the actual people that were involved in the situation, and that is The Society of Snow. It is based on the 1970s rugby team that crashed and lived for basically 3 months in the Andes in a crashed plane. It is an intense emotional roller coaster, and let me tell you, is a much better depiction than the original 1980s Alive, with Ethan Hawke was in that one. This one is much more closer to the realism of what actually happened. So very good movie. Society of the Snow.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Kyle.
So, Gabe, I promised you a movie that comes in right at 90 minutes. Perfect. It is a comedy / light thriller mystery, kind of wondering what's going on movie. It is exclusive to Hulu right now. Stars Jake Johnson and the real Andy Samberg, not the Canadian knockoff with the headband. As well as one of my favorite improv comedians, Aaron Holland. Mary Holland, sorry, I screwed that up. It is called Self-Reliance. So check it out. It is fun and funny movie. It stars, did I mention Jake Johnson? It's got Jake Johnson from The New Girl in it and Let's Be Cops. He's really funny in it.
Let's Be Cops is a good movie too.
Yeah. It's basically the story of a really lonely guy stuck in a rut who gets propositioned by someone to join a reality show where if you can survive being hunted for 30 days, they'll give you $1 million. But the trick is if you're with somebody else, you can't be attacked. So then he has to reconnect with his family, who obviously think he's crazy over this, try to find strangers who believe him. At one point, he hires a homeless man to walk around with him. So yeah, it's an entertaining movie, and it's only 90 minutes, and it's not as bad as Holmes and Watson. So A+++.
Gabe, it's right up your alley.
I'm watching it right now
on his Palm Pilot. Thanks, Kyle. Tom.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a lot of these business stories that are getting made lately, and last year, Ben Affleck put out Air, the story of the Air Jordan shoes at Nike. This movie actually took me kind of by surprise because I did not realize that Nike was very close to ditching their entire basketball line before they brought Jordan in. Nike went on after they brought Jordan in to start the Nike basketball camps. And then my company, Championship Productions, has taken over those camps, and we run them now. We film them and live stream them and hire the coaches, and we do everything for them when we took them over from Nike. And so it's kind of cool watching this movie that all of this pivotal stuff that happens with Jordan and these shoes, if that didn't happen, I likely wouldn't be at my job. So whether, debatable on the historical accuracy of things, but I absolutely loved it. And it kind of, obviously spoke to me, and I highly recommend it because it's a really fun ride. Affleck and Damon are great as usual. Jason Bateman is fantastic. Chris Tucker puts in probably his second best role ever. So you can check out Air. I think it's streaming on Amazon for free right now if you got Prime. Check it out.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Tom. Gabe.
Well, I'm going to go with another Taron Egerton movie called Eddie the Eagle. And it's also based on a true story about
Allegedly.
a British, loosely, about a British guy who wants to become a ski jumper, who wants to compete in the Olympics, but he's really not that good at it. And it's really kind of a fun, entertaining, uplifting movie, and it's also another one of those performances where Taron Egerton really kind of morphs into that character. He's not. I mean, I think this was shortly after Kingsman, and it's not the kind of role that you expected him to take, and he's really good in it. It also has Hugh Jackman in it, and it's a really fun, uplifting kind of movie. So I would recommend Eddie the Eagle.
All right.
Wolverine.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie has been mentioned a lot during this podcast. Also, the director of this film was one of the producers on Tetris. I just saw this last week, and it stars Henry Cavill, Bryce Dallas Howard, and a Cinesmack favorite, Sam Rockwell. It is Argyle. You go in, you're like, okay, this is just a spy movie. They put this twist on it, but there are a few little twists and turns you don't see coming. And it is just a lot of fun. Like Tom, you've seen it. I was getting a lot of kind of Romancing the Stone type vibes from it. Like, the back and forth. So I would highly recommend you go see Argyle. It's just fun. Just sit down, have your popcorn, and enjoy the film.
John Cena's in it too,
John
right?
Cena's in it. Sam Jackson's in it. Bryan Cranston.
Wow, they just pulled everybody for this, didn't they?
It's really good. It's
awesome.
Stop watching the trailers, though.
Yes, don't watch the trailers. Like, watch the first trailer. Don't watch any of the new trailers. It kind of...
Do they give too much away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't watch the one during the Super Bowl, because I bet there's going to be one then.
Probably. All right. I was told to take longer reaching for my button to tell you guys who won. So I'm prepping the monkey now.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner, by decision, is Tetris!
13-3, fellas.
Wowzers. They all Kyle, weren't they?
They were all Kyle. Kyle was all in on Blackberry.
Yeah, give me Kyle!
I'm defending Danny Boyle's Sunshine record for you.
That hadn't occurred to me because it's not anything that I'm concerned about. And thank
I
you.
love the way you sound when you lie.
We'll talk about this later.
All right. Yeah, that was a little lopsided.
More lopsided than I thought.
Yeah, going into the films, because I hadn't seen Blackberry yet. And then after I watched it, I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to be lopsided.
Yeah, after I watched them, I kind of felt the same way, too. I felt pretty strongly, that I liked Tetris much more. I enjoyed Tetris a lot more.
That's funny because I felt like I liked Tetris, and then I watched Blackberry, and I was like, oh, I think this is a better movie.
I think,
what? Show it.
I mean, real quick, but one of the things we didn't talk about is just like the stakes in Tetris are a lot higher. Like, I mean, these people could lose their lives if, they misstep in Russia versus in Blackberry where they could just, lose money or go to jail. But for some reason, just Tetris is a more fun movie, and Blackberry is not as fun. And it's, I don't know, it's like, it doesn't line up with what you would expect. So I don't know. I lean towards the more fun life and death movie.
The more fun, yeah.
And it pissed me off that he didn't go to jail. That fucking. I threw my remote in Blackberry.
Rich.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That pissed me off.
Yep.
They paid a bunch of fines, and then it's fine.
Yep, you're fine.
Fucker.
Slap on the wrist. All right.
Wait, man.
Please leave us a review on whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. If you want to listen to an unedited version of the show, you can catch us live on Twitch whenever we record an episode. In March, we will be throwing 2 classic crime thrillers into the ring as Rope takes on In Cold Blood. For Tom, Kyle, Gabe, Andrew, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Let's play some Tetris, motherfucker.
All right.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.
The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So while ice skating for 2 is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Mima and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta Holiday Market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.